CNBC's Evolve Summit taking place in Chicago. It's all about how legacy companies are adapting and innovating in today's marketplace. Right now, we want to go back out to Chicago and our own Becky Quick. She's joined by another special guest. Hey, Becky.
Hey, Joe. Thank you, guys. Joining us right now is Oscar Munoz. Munoz. He is the CEO of United Airlines. And Oscar, you are somebody who has evolved this company, I think 3 or 4 different times in the 5 years you've been running it. How do you do that? How do you keep handling this stuff? How do you come up with it? And where is United now versus where you took over?
Well, thank you for that. And I appreciate being special as a guest, like all of us are. This is a labor of love. We have 95,000 employees worldwide. And one of the things that I think we've all felt for a long period of time is the pride and professionalism in serving you as a customer. We just hadn't been able to unlock it with tools, with culture, with involvement and engagement, and listening to them. And I think that's been a huge factor in the things that we've done. It's not magic, it's just really hard work.
I mean, when you came in, I remember, I fly United often. You guys are my hub, you're my home. I remember when you came in, not particularly liking flying on United because it seemed to me that the employees were always grouchy and grumpy. I know that was the first constituency you had to listen to. But then Dr. David Dow, that made you kind of had to shift gears a little bit. You really had to get into the idea where you were listening to customers, too.
We accelerated the program, is what it ended up doing. People always ask me about that event, and we're hoping it goes into the distance and the far history. It's like, I hope it doesn't to some degree, because it reminds us constantly every day of how important and how critical our everyday treatment. We have a saying, every customer, every day, and on every flight, which is a really tall task. And we fly 160 plus million folks, and the vast majority of those flights are on time without incident. But even a small percentage of that large number has an issue. And of course, we do live in a world where everything's very visible and transparent, and people will communicate via their own devices and such. And that's just an aspect of what we have to worry. Just like our business model, right? Things happen all the time in our business. And we can stand around and say, oops, oops, oops. We prefer to actually just deliver and continue to deliver on the promises we make to investors and to our customers.
All right, let's talk about some of the issues that you're facing with on a daily basis, a lot of the issues that the street is thinking about, too. Probably first up is what's happening with the 737 MAX. Right. We just heard the new head of the FAA saying he's not going to certify this thing until he flies it, and he's satisfied with it. He's a pilot, so he knows what he's talking about. What's the latest you've heard? What's your best guess?
We were just with him the other day, and I think it's exactly as he said. I think the process has to happen. All the people in the world have to be assured and made confident that this is an aircraft that's safe. We've said from day one, first, that I would fly the first one on United, but more importantly, that the safety and the security of our employees and our customers is paramount. So we won't move on that aircraft until the FAA has certified, certainly. We hope other people around the international space also do it in a very close knit, because I think that'll be helpful. But other than that, I think the work has to be done.
What does that mean in terms of when you're planning on putting it back in your schedel? Like how far off have you said we know it's not going to be here?
There's a lot made up of, well, you did this date and somebody else did 2 weeks later or 2 weeks before and all that. Nobody knows exactly. We have changeover periods in our schedule that are just internal to us. So we will, for instance, we have it in the middle of December 19th. I think others have it a few weeks later. There's nothing important. We don't know anything more than anyone else. It's just an appropriate schedule aspect for us. And if that turns out to be not the date, like we have done over the course of the year, unfortunately, is we'll move the date.
And I guess the reason people are so eager to try and figure out when it's going to happen is because it does matter to the bottom line. What's the impact if it gets moved back another 2 or 4 weeks?
I think it's critical, and it sounds like this, CEO talk about the safety and security of our employees and customers. Mm-hmm. It is all about the safety and security of our customers, period. The commercial aspect, the operational aspect, we've been dealing with all the course of the year. You haven't seen us change our guidance. You haven't seen the things. We are, towards the end of the year, we'll be canceling about 100 flights per day.
Wow.
But our team has done an amazing job of using different aircraft, upgauging aircraft, adjusting our schedule so we can actually take care of as many customers as possible as opposed to canceling. So yeah, it's not optimal, but again, safety and security become paramount.
Have you talked to Boeing about any potential make goods, any discounts down the road? Where are you in those?
Yeah, I think those conversations are going on across the industry. Yeah. Nothing of any particular specificity other than the fact that we'll all like to get the aircraft back safely and soon.
Let's talk a little bit about what's happening around the globe in terms of what you see from demand. Right? No, it seems like we're in a pretty good economy here in the United States, but you are traveling internationally. You're taking people for business. You're taking consumers. Where have you seen pockets of strength and pockets of weakness?
Well, let's go around the world. Central and South America, Argentina, not so good. Brazil, pretty good. So overall, Latin, strong. We talk about Europe. I think outbound to Europe is very, very strong. A little weak coming in. Brexit and other things are probably affecting folks. So, the political winds do affect the economy, obviously, and customers' desire to travel. The Far East, overall East, is hanging in there. China has been a bit softer. Hong Kong in this last quarter was awful. It's as simple as that, for obvious reasons. We make adjustments to our schedule all the time. We've done so to Argentina. We've done so to Hong Kong. And we'll continue to do that. But overall, our data is strong. Our bookings are strong. Our yields are strong. Our operational things are strong. Our plan is solid. I know we try to use the R word a lot, and it's a big conversation in many places. And I know we often say, let's not talk ourselves into it.
To a recession, really, the R word, that is like Voldemort, the word that no one will say. Let's not talk ourselves into it.
Yeah. Again, we watch the data, and it's so critical to us, because if we don't get it right and adjust our schedules accordingly, our bottom line does get impacted.
You probably can see out, at least for a number of months, just based on bookings for business and consumers. I mean, you would seem to be a leading indicator.
Well, you know what? I used to be in a railroad business. That was a leading indicator, by and large, much more so than ours. So we have a lot of close-in bookings. Folks like you, bankers, lawyers who have to get to a certain place, they're often told, hey, listen, I need you in London Friday. Sure. And so that close-in booking is also a big part of our business. We have a very segmented airline, but at the same time, we live in the largest business markets, so that's a big portion to us. So we don't have as much insight, so we watch all of this closely. We're watching a few weeks out. We have all these wonderful little charts that indicate strength or weakness or trends. And again, most of that data continues to suggest a strong thing. We just reaffirmed our guidance for both the quarter and the full year, despite fuel prices. You'll want to talk about fuel, I suspect.
We do.
As well. But so we're in a good place.
Well, let's talk about fuel, because we did see oil prices spike pretty significantly at the beginning of last week, just based on what we saw with Saudi Arabia and the attacks that took place there. How are you dealing with it? Prices didn't stay as elevated as some people expected. How do you kind of handle it?
Well, a couple things. The geopolitical tensions in that area and issue are really important and really serious, and we hope most of that gets worked out. With regards to, I'll talk about our industry as a whole, we've become infinitely more resilient to those things. That kind of impact historically would have really, really hit ourselves. And over the last couple of spikes in oil that we've seen, the stocks tend to drop in the first day. We dropped about only 3%, which wasn't too bad, but then rebound the following day. Fuel prices didn't move as much, and they also rebounded. I think the folks in Saudi did a nice job of recovering their capacity and managing the crisis and the issue. But right now, again, we reaffirmed our guidance after we saw the fuel prices spike.
When you say that you do a better job in the industry of managing, does that mean you're hedging it more? Or, I mean, part of it is the United States is just producing more oil.
I think it's a concept of what we do in the marketplace. I think by and large, we've learned to accept that fuel has volatility. Hedging, some people do, but most people do not. Over the long run, that has mixed records, I'll say. So no, it's just running a business with the volatility we know. We have weather, right? We have lots of weather. We have to get better at managing weather. In fact, one of the new initiatives you'll hear from us over the next few months is how we're sort of want to try to revolutionize how do we deal with weather. Because telling you there's bad weather and you can't fly, you don't like it and you're upset, at some point in time we have to tell you, it's like, listen, we can tell you ahead of time, whatever it is that we need to do to not make you as uncomfortable as weather currently does for people.
What's your biggest complaint with the stuff you can't control right now?
For the stuff we can't control, you can't control.
Right.
We'd all wish Mother Nature was on our payroll records.
Well, I just think about some of the stuff with the FAA, air traffic control, some of those issues. I mean, that's kind of out of your hands, or the TSA trying to get people through lines faster.
Yeah, this is an industry and a business and a job where there is very few areas that don't affect you. And we cannot walk around saying, oh, woe is me, this person. We just educate. We constantly, very transparent about everything. I can't tell you, I will stand up on I was diverted recently, and I stood up.
You were?
Yeah, yes. It happens to everybody, which is the great part, because people are like, oh, this can't happen.
Where were you going? Tell me
I was coming to Chicago. We went to Grand Rapids, and it was one of those days in Chicago where it's just difficult.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And everybody gets upset,
pain.
and I'm sitting in the back, and it was a great event. I got up and talked to folks, and we explained questions. Somebody wanted to get off the plane, there on the live tarmac and get an Uber because it was closer to where they were going than Chicago was. I said, yeah, we're not going to do that. And here's the reason why. It's a live runway.
And you might get run over.
And people want to get off, but it's awfully better, especially during weather, to stay on the aircraft and wait it out and just get in line to get back. And so all these kind of questions come up, and people shared food. They brought out bags of taffy and stuff. It was a wonderful event. You can make difficult issues easier if you just.
You were in the back of the plane. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, well, 24 or something.
You were. You were.
It was a short flight.
Did anybody know who you were when you got on the plane?
It's interesting in our business, and I think all my peers would say the same thing. I think that the more to the front of the cabin that you are, the more people know you and recognize you. Towards the back, there's a very high percentage of people that don't fly very often. That's part of the issue. If you haven't flown in a year, things have changed on bag size, a host of things. Yeah. And so that's some of the frustration, which is why we say every customer, every flight, every day, we have to make sure that people that don't fly very often are communicated to in a way that's practical, reasonable, and logical, and that they know what to expect.
You're like undercover boss. Oscar, thank you. We really appreciate your time today. Oscar Munoz is the CEO of United.